We're just absolutely fucked as farmers, guys. Everything is so fucked, and I do not see anybody surviving this farm crisis that we're in. Guys, look, one of the best splorn crops that I have ever raised in my life. And because of the tariffs, China will not fucking buy it. And they are the only country in the world other than, well, they are the only country in the world that buys splorn. And so now I'm literally just chopping it, blowing it on the fucking ground because it's fucking useless, it's valueless, there's nothing I can fucking do to it. I am going to need government assistance to make it through this fucking crisis until these tariffs end. Look, I've never raised a splorn crop like this, guys. And this is just fucking heartbreaking to me. I don't know how I'm gonna survive. You know, Trump said he fucking loved us farmers, and here I am just blowing my splorn crop all over the ground. Hopefully he works a deal out where Antarctica and Mars will start buying this splorn and save the farmers. I'm sorry, splorn crop, but you're fucked.
Right now, we're in a very dire situation. September's upon us, harvest is starting in the deep south, and we have 0 bushels of soybeans on the books to be sold to China for this current crop that's about to come out of the field. Historically, over the last 5 years, about a third of soybean sales to China would be booked. China amounts to 25% of our total U.S. soybean crop. So that would be 8 or 9% of the whole U.S. crop would normally be on the books with China right now, and we have 0. That is alarming. The farm economy as a whole is struggling. Inflation has caused our cost of production to rise drastically on every front. Commodity prices, in particular soybeans, are down about 50% from where they were 3 years ago. And our numbers are deeply in the red. And we send this letter to President Trump because we've been talking for months about needing to have sales in place, a deal in place, a phase 2 type agreement that has purchase commitments along with a level playing field on trade with no tariffs. And we haven't had anything happen, unfortunately. And our appeal to President Trump and his administration is make soybeans a priority in any trade negotiations that are taking place. Soybeans are the #1 agriculture export to China. And in the last trade war, it was 71% of the losses that we had as American farmers. And they're critical.
Yeah, so if we look at, and we're going to divide. So I'll stay with grain and oilseeds because that's what I do day to day. But I just have to say one thing about livestock. For livestock folks, we're in good world for them right now. So I'd love to be able to have as good a world that they're having in GNO, but we just don't. And so there's just so many things, and it's really a supply story this year. When you think about across the globe, we haven't had a year where every country's almost saying all 8 cylinders where we're getting full production. And that's where we are right now. It's also too a bit of a dichotomy in the US is that you've got we're building corn stocks, but the world is not. It's just the opposite in soybeans, where the world's building soy stocks and we're not. And so it's a very weird world, but the fact is we just have so much supply in the world, that's just going to keep prices, really on the defensive.
Republicans in farm country are utterly livid at the Trump administration for an, frankly, inscrutable, utterly outrageous bailout that it made to Argentina last week. But why are farmers angry? So here's why. Because of Trump's trade war with China, China has bought 0 soybeans from American farmers this year. China eats about 2/3 of all the soybeans around the world. Last year, China, I think, accounted for about 52% of soybean purchases. So in other words, without China buying soybeans from U.S. farmers, our farmers are utterly screwed. Now, the only other real alternatives for China are, one, to grow them in China, and they're trying to do that long term, but really to purchase them from Brazil and also Argentina. Most of what they get, but when they're not getting it from us, comes from Brazil, but Argentina is also a huge producer of soybeans. So last week, the Trump administration announced a $20 billion bailout of Argentina because Trump said he's supporting his friend in the upcoming election, Javier Milei. Javier Milei, you might remember, this is Elon Musk's buddy who did like a Doge type move on Argentina, and he drove the Argentinian economy into the ground, now needs a massive bailout. So Trump is offering this $20 billion lifeline. The same day that Trump and Bessent announced this lifeline, Reuters reports that Argentina is now shipping massive amounts of soybeans to China and cut its export taxes to zero. In other words, the American money that we're sending to Argentina is making up the gap. So Argentina now doesn't have to charge these export fees on its soybeans. So China gets a huge discount. So China is out there scrambling, trying to find soybeans to feed its population without buying American soybeans because they're in a trade war that we started with them. And Trump just made it much cheaper and easier for China to buy those from Argentina. Now, there's another brutal aspect to this that isn't getting any coverage, and it's that American hedge funds invested heavily in Argentina after Milei was elected because they thought that his libertarian slash everything approach to the economy was actually going to turn things around and make Argentina a good investment. It didn't work at all. The economy collapsed. And so these American hedge funds were about to lose billions and billions of dollars on these stupid investments. But now Bessent, a former hedge fund guy, is the Treasury Secretary now, is coming in, and thanks to the bailout, the hedge funds are actually going to make a profit. And the final piece of this is that this is not the first time that Trump has done this to soybean farmers. The first time he was president, he started a trade war with China, and China responded by not buying soybeans from American farmers. And China instead told Brazil, we want to up our purchases from you. And then they actually started investing and helping Brazil build more highways, and they're putting more than $200 million into this port of Santos to help create capacity so that they can massively expand production of soybeans and exports to China. So they've basically almost doubled production from 2017 to today. Brazil has, and of course, all of these Brazilian soybeans that are being produced now are coming at the expense of the Amazonian rainforest, which was chopped down in order to make room for them. So awesome. Everybody's winning.
Also, everybody says in the comments, Project 2025, didn't you read that? That's his platform.
Hey, Skylar, my name's Will Westmoreland, and I'm a farmer down in Southwest Missouri. And I just wanted to reach out to you and tell you that I am not an FAFO kind of guy. We probably disagree with each other on everything political, but there's a very specific reason why people are getting upset with you. And I wanted to explain that to you if you'd be willing to listen to an older guy kind of walk you through the process. Now, I'm not an FAFO guy because I know what's going to happen to poor people, the elderly, children, single moms, and over 250 million people every night around the world that go to bed hungry if the American farmer and rancher is run out of business because of Trump's policies. And that's what I want to explain to you tonight if you'll listen to me. I also wanted to let you know I sent you a private message. And if you ever want to get on the phone and you want to talk about the issues that Trump is forwarding that are bad for agriculture, I'd be willing to do that, and I'd be willing to listen to your arguments as well. I also want to let you know that I've been a political consultant for over 30 years. I want to be right up front about that. I do that in addition to farming. And I want you to know a lot of younger people don't know, and I don't mean that in a condescending way, but more of an educational way. A lot of younger people don't know that right-wing talk radio and news, the pundits, the talking heads, and right-wing talk radio, etc., have been working for over 40 years to develop in rural people exactly the kinds of ideas that you have in your head, that all politicians are crooks, that they're all the same, that you can't trust traditional media, that anything you hear that comes out of Washington, D.C. or New York or the New York Times or CBS News, that it's all a lie. And they did this on purpose, and they started with Ronald Reagan. We used to have what's called a fairness doctrine in this country, where if you were a radio station or a television station and you were using the public airwaves to present a message, we had a fairness doctrine where you were required by law to share the other side of the story. And President Ronald Reagan, who was president when I was in high school and a little bit younger than that, had the fairness doctrine eliminated. He had it taken out of the books. And there was a specific reason for that. It was designed so that organizations like Fox News and right-wing talk radio could start spreading the lie that all mainstream media was bad. Now, this was during the time of Walter Cronkite and Dan Rather, all the other news heads that we had out there that were highly respected. But it was a strategy to make it so that the airwaves no longer had to present an unbiased case. And then these right-wing media sources like Rush Limbaugh and Fox News, etc., began pouring it on to rural America. You can't trust politicians. You can't trust the news. And what they did is they focused on destroying the trust in these institutions so that they could replace it with another institution. And they did that. They replaced it with Fox News. They replaced it with right-wing talk radio. And I can't tell you how many times when I was growing up, when I was your age, I'd walk into a job site or be on a farm and I would hear right-wing talk radio blaring on the radio all day long. And then after they had destroyed our faith in media institutions in rural America, they then turned their guns toward the government itself. And they began building in us a distrust of government organizations. And Skylar, here's the facts, okay? You can look this up on your own, but these are the facts. Rural America uses more welfare than the blue cities do. Rural America needs more help feeding our children. We need more help keeping our hospitals open. And guys like you and I, farmers out there that grow row crops or do agroforestry or raise cattle, we take welfare too. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that because we can't control the cost of our inputs. We can't control the cost of what we sell our products for. We got to pay for shipping both ways, as Kennedy said. But the reality of the situation is they were able to instill in us the idea that the government money coming to us was okay and was a good thing, but the government money going everywhere else was a scam or a sham or communistic or socialistic, etc. So it reached a fever pitch finally where a lot of rural people, over 70% of rural farmers and ranchers, only believe the Fox Newses and the talk radio. And when they came to you and told you that Trump wasn't going to implement Project 2025 and that he didn't have anything to do with it, you believe that. And you're not alone. All I'm here to tell you is that you were lied to. I'm not asking you to admit you were wrong. I'm not telling you effed around and found out, because I don't want to see you lose your farm. And if there's anything I can do to help you not lose your farm, I'd be happy to do it. But in the distrust that you built up for government over time, and due to the fact that you didn't think mainstream media was reliable anymore, and you began listening to the news sources that tried to convince you every day that Project 2025 was not a Trump deal, even though many, many people on his campaign worked for Project 2025, they put it together, they helped write it. There was an entire section on agriculture. And in that section on agriculture, they specifically say they're going to cut out programs like this. Then they're going to cut out crop insurance. And Donald Trump is on record, my friend. And Skylar, look this up. Don't take anything I'm telling you at face value. You look it up. That's the difference between me and a lot of people on here. Check what I've said. Make sure I'm not lying to you. But Donald Trump is on record saying that corporate farming is better than small family farms and ranches. And Skylar, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to corporatize agriculture. And I'm not talking about when you and I go out and put together an LLC so that we can get the tax benefits and the protections from liability that come with that. I'm talking about big ag corporations in Wall Street buying up family farms and ranches as they go out of business so that they can turn it into just another investment. In the last 10 years, we've broken every single record in regard to the number of farms and ranches being bought up by investment companies in the United States. And I'd be happy to share all of that data with you. But my friend, I think the worst thing that they did to us in rural America is they convinced us somehow to place the culture wars over our own well-being. And what do I mean by that? Brother, when I was young, you didn't care what anybody did in their bedroom. Gay, lesbian, trans, whatever. That was their life. And the only way the law changed was just to say that you can't discriminate against those people when you're hiring, and you can't commit acts of hate against them because they're different than you and I as heterosexual white men. That's all the law did. And Skylar, did you know that the Southern Baptist Convention, and I was a Southern Baptist for a long time, do you know that the Southern Baptist Convention had its own clauses in their charter that said that abortion was okay in the event that it saved the life of the mother or the child might be deformed? but it was political hacks in the religious Christian movement that came in and politicized the abortion topic in order to get folks like you and I in rural America to turn against it. So I'm not here to tell you FO, brother. I know how hard you work every day, and I know what you're trying to do for your family because I'm doing the same thing. And you may listen to what I have to say, and you may just think this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But I hope you'll listen to it with an open mind, and I hope you'll double check and research what I've told you. Because the truth of the matter is we've been lied to. So at this stage, I'm not even asking you to say you were wrong. I'm just asking you to admit that you were lied to. Trump was forwarding Project 2025. He just hired the guy to oversee cost and contracts in the federal government that wrote Project 2025. We were lied to, my friend. And nobody's going to judge you if you just admit that you were lied to and you made decisions based on the fact that you thought these contracts were going to be kept and that you were lied to. And then the next step is get involved with us to fight back. It doesn't make you a Democrat. It doesn't make you a turncoat. It just means you see wrong when it occurs and you fight back against it. Anyway, I hope that makes sense and have a great day.
Hi guys, welcome back once again to my YouTube channel. I really hope you have watched the full combination of the clips and you have all seen the reason why maybe MAGA farmers they are furious with Trump, because one thing we really know that Trump tariff, it has really affected a lot of white farmers that are living in America. Trump tariffs has really affected them a lot. The soybeans farmers, all those farmers that are living in America, a lot of Trump tariffs has really affected them a lot, and this is the reason why they're really crying out for help and they're really asking for bailout. They just want the government to help them, to bail them out, because their foods are just rotting their stores. Their food crops, they haven't been kept because maybe they waited for the protection of immigrant, and we have all seen there's no anyone to go and pick the food crop in the farm. And a lot of people, they have really came out and they ain't empathizing with them, because they're telling these farmers, this is what you voted for, this is the reason why you are going through this, because you voted against your own interest. And most of them all voted against out of hatred and out of racism. And this is the reason why maybe these farmers, they are really crying out for help. They want the government to bail them out, because they feel like maybe some of them that are really, they are right now admitting that they really did a very big mistake, maybe for putting the wrong person in office, but they got nothing to do. Instead, they just have to turn and maybe beg God for mercy and beg President Donald Trump at least to bail them out, because there's no any way they can survive, because a lot of farmers, they are really crying out of help because of how they are really going bankrupt, because of how they are really losing their farms, and there's no anyone to help them out. And a lot of Democrats that really came out in large number and they are really reacting to this. They are saying that these people, we once warned you, but you didn't listen to us. We really voted so that at least you could stay in business, but you voted so that at least you can go through this. You voted at least because you didn't want any person of other skin color to rule America. You voted out of hatred. You voted against your own interest, and right now you are the ones who are really suffering. Democrats, they really came out in large number and they're really talking about this, because first of all, these farmers really thought that whenever they voted for President Donald Trump, at least President Donald Trump will make the cost of living reduce, may make the cost of the prices below, because they really thought that Trump will actually change a lot of things in America. Trump would actually change America. And right now we've all seen how these farmers are really struggling, of how they are losing their farms, they are going bankrupt, and there's no anyone to help them. The only thing that has really remained to help these farmers is only the government, at least to bail them out. They want socialism, but whenever other people really ask for socialism, whenever other people they wanted socialism, these farmers came out and said that there's no any way you can get socialism from the government. There's no any way our taxpayer money can maybe help you through your problem. So, and also a lot of people that really came out and they're saying that there's no way our taxpayer money will help these farmers, or there's no way the government can bail these people out. They should just stand out on their bootstrap, pull their socks, and maybe they wait until things could be better in America. But right now, we're all seeing how Trump tariffs has really affected a lot, especially these white farmers, MAGA farmers that are living in America. And right now, they're really admitting they really did a very big mistake, but there's no anyone to help them out. And this is the reason why they're really crying out for help. So guys, we really hope things will be better in America. America could be greater once again. If it was for the first time you're coming across my video, don't forget to like this video, subscribe and share. Thank you so much for your time. May God bless whenever you are. One love.